I talk a lot about values in my work, in my business. I teach people how to figure out what their values are personally and professionally. I teach businesses how to deploy values-driven marketing. I pretty much live, eat, sleep, breathe values. But one area that I think is particularly challenging when you're contemplating values and how they affect your work in the world, certainly your leadership, is when you're dealing with values conflicts. And this is getting progressively more acute, I think, in our world, in our marketplace, in our business places, in our, in our individual businesses. It's how do we reconcile when our values deviate from the people that we work with? How do we reconcile when our personal values deviate from our customers' values? How do we deal with our communities having different values than we do, or having a deviation? I think this is happening to a lot of people in a lot of ways, certainly in political spectrums. I'm certainly in the left-leaning category, and I experience it when we on the left have these like cause du jour things, right? Where there's, and I don't mean to be like diminishing of causes, like they are all important, but that's the thing, right? They're all important. When everything is important and everything is critical, and you're supposed to use your voice for everything, and you're supposed to stand up for everything and everyone at all times, and you're supposed to be loud and noisy and big and pushy, and you're supposed to push back against all of it. How do you ever get anything done that's not that? My background is in activism. Like I went to a school that was based entirely on activism and change management, and going all the way back to the 90s, it's like there's always something that we are all supposed to collectively care about and rage against. There's always something. There will always be something. And as we watch these critical moments, especially in social media, we are creating our own news cycles for these things, and they are so deeply affecting for so many people. And I have always, like, there is no right answer to this, by the way. Like, this is not a video where, like, I'm going to go like, hey, here's the magic solution. I don't think that there is one, and I think that's part of why the world has become so divided, is because there isn't an easy answer to how do we deal with people that fundamentally disagree with something that we hold central to our identity or our senses of personal freedom. And beyond that, how do you lead, especially in a workplace, through that, right? Most companies solve it by like just banning all politics. We just don't talk about our beliefs. We just don't talk about religion. We just don't talk about it here, which then translates to we don't talk about our personal lives here. We don't talk about the things that we care about here, which further dehumanizes workplaces that are already deeply dehumanized. So what is the right answer? Maybe it's that we need to create more space for these things, but in containers that somehow are manageable. Maybe big companies have it right, and it's just that our beliefs don't belong in our workplace. But I don't think that's right. And I think that this is the fundamental line that we are all bumping up against, is like, how do I care about the things that I care about and still make a living? In my business, I have generally kept myself pretty quiet on like political causes. It's just not a thing I throw my hat into. I certainly have my own personal things, and I contribute where I want to in my personal life, but in my business life, I don't think that I can continuously do my job well if I'm using my limited capacity and my limited resources for outreach to talk about causes that are not directly affecting me. And maybe that is, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I wish that there was enough bandwidth. I wish we all had more energy, more time, more resources to care about everything. And of course I care, but using my resources to show how much I care is a different thing. And I don't know that that's always the right answer. I don't know that it's not, but I don't know that it is. I certainly don't want to use a business platform and a leadership platform where I am working very, very hard to teach people how to carry their values with them and use them with integrity. I can't always both teach that and show up and talk about every cause and everything that matters to me, because there's something that feels inherently self-serving in that, right? I'm distracting and taking away from what might be really critically important. Like, people need to learn what I'm teaching, and that's what they're here for. They're not really here to hear my personal political views. They're not really here to hear what causes I care most about. And so my solution for myself is that I let different spaces be what they are. And I try to operate within those spaces from a place of integrity and from my values in each of those spaces. So in my professional spaces, I devote my energy and attention towards doing what I'm doing now, which is leading with that integrity and talking about what matters to me in the context of why people are here, why you're watching me right now. You're not here to hear me talk about other things, right? You're not here for makeup tutorials. Like, you're not here for me to talk about politics. Like, you're here to learn about leadership and business. That's what I do. That is what I have decided that, and what I show up for. So it is aligned with my integrity to continue to do that. It is a betrayal of my agreement with you and my promise to you to do that if I use that platform for something else. There's plenty of other opportunities for me to raise my voice in appropriate spaces where that is welcomed. I could certainly create a personal feed where that's all I talk about and I show you my life, but that's not my personal choice. I use my limited resources for showing up on video and spending time doing this instead of hanging out with my kid. I use that to teach you what I know. And this is part of that. So deciding what you show up for is absolutely your right. And you can absolutely be in integrity without using your voice for every cause. I fully believe that. And especially when you have a departure from your community, where you might not agree with what everyone else is telling you to do, even if you believe in the cause that they're up in arms about, right? You can agree and not agree with the tactics. You can agree with what's behind it and not want to lend your voice to that. That's acceptable. When did that stop being acceptable? There are certainly times where you have to speak up and speak out, but we have turned everything into that, and it's not true. And when everything is the Holocaust all over again, when everything is this inflammatory huge thing that must be yelled about, then it loses all power. And as a leader, power is everything. You can't lead if you don't have power. You can't gather support if you don't have power. And if you spend the power that you have to raise your voice to every single cause, and then you try to raise your voice to teach people things that have nothing to do with that, you will not have enough power for the latter. You just won't. You'll have used it up. So managing your power, managing your energy as a leader is critical. You have to decide what you're going to use it on, and we are human beings. We do not have enough for everything, ever. Certainly these days. We do not have enough for our spouses and our children and our businesses and our careers and our debt and our money flow and every single cause that comes along and every other person who's being objectified or victimized in this world. We do not have enough energy to do all of that and still survive ourselves. So if you are aspiring to be a leader, if you are in a leadership position already and you're trying desperately to figure this out, recognize that you do not have the capacity to figure it out successfully. You will mess something up. You will piss someone off. You will fail to put power in the right spot by someone's measure. So you have to decide who you're okay with disappointing. And that's part of leadership. You will not be able to bring everyone with you. You will not be able to satisfy everybody's journey. So you got to work it out. You have to figure out what lane are you in and where are you using your power? How much do you have? Where are you using it? And what do you care about most to expend it on?